Good evening. We'll go ahead and call the May 26, 2022 special meeting of the Lakeshore Hospital Authority to order. Any staff addition or deletions to the agenda?
Staff has no additions or deletions, Mr. Chairman.
I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that motion carries. We're going to hear tonight from Hope Bridges LLC on their proposal for the use of the hospital campus. Since we're hearing a proposal, I figured it would be best for us to take questions at the end of the meeting. Or excuse me, not questions, but hear public comments at the end of the meeting. That way, possibly whatever is presented may answer any questions or comments that are made beforehand, so we'll do it that way. So the purpose of the special meeting is to discuss and take possible action on the statement of interest proposals. This is our second offer for parties interested in utilizing the Lakeshore Hospital campus, all or part, to provide medical care or other services to the citizens of Columbia County through partnership with the authority. At this time, Peacock, if you would, go ahead and start your presentation.
Thank you all once more so much. I'm not going to stay very long. I brought the whole team here today. Our main presenter, unfortunately, had a breakout on our team, and she's past 75 now. She should be here shortly. So we're going to reverse the order. What we're going to do, we're going to let the ACE Medical come up first, and this is the most significant part of it. I'm going to take more time to let you know exactly what they offer, what they're bringing to the table, is history of the facilities. And I think that's going to be very informative. We also have the site for all the things that need to be done today. We got Andy here as well as the home health care. So time I'll get John to come up and introduce himself to you all and tell you about the hospital.
Hello guys, I'm Sharma. I've been here before, I think last year sometime. So I guess my proposal was not good last time, so it took a year for you guys to come in again. And with Mike, I think, so the plan is still the same, what I had said last year, but tweaking it a little bit. Since you guys are wanting the hospital to be open, and, I have a team ready to start the documentation that starts with having a director of nursing on day one to start the process, because hospital does not have a license. It is not a hospital anymore. It is just a building with some equipments. So we'll have somebody come evaluate the equipments, do the documentation to be submitted to ARCA for the license to be reapplied. That takes around 3 to 6 months, depending on how the government cooperates and how many mistakes they find in the application. We all know one dot missed is another submitting the application again, and so we'll try not to do that. But in case we do that, it is another 30 days. So starting with the director of nursing, having a medical director on board, getting the lab started. So having a lab director, validating all the equipments, getting because you guys have a lot of equipment that is powered up, but we don't know whether it is running or not running. So to make sure that the equipments are running, getting them certified, getting the preventive maintenance on them, called PM, that what ARCA wants to see. Everything is in good condition. Everything goes smooth as I'm talking and thinking. It is not as easy as I'm talking, but the timeline should be 4 months from the day we fix the building, we fix the equipment, we should have the license. That is just the stage A, like a small A, not a capital A. After that, we apply for the Medicare number. But the day we get the license, we can treat the uninsured. We cannot treat anybody till then. Once we get the license, we can treat the uninsured. That means the hospital will have to be fully staffed the day we get licensed. The rule for the ER is it has to be open 24/7, no matter what. I mean, you're allowed to close the ER twice in a certain period of time, but after that, the license is revoked. So the hospital ER has to be up and running 24/7. And once we have the license, we apply for the Medicare number. That takes another 30, 60 days, 90 days. And then we start applying for other insurances. So this was the, how the hospital will come in comparison to any other hospital, accepting all the insurance, all the population base. Coming to the services we plan to provide, I am right now currently equipped with handling the primary care, internal medicine. Internal medicine covers almost all the aspects of healthcare. We have cardiologist on board, podiatrist, and then we'll have to see which area and addiction. These are the three core areas we can start sooner than anything else. That's the plan, and by the time to get a fully functional hospital like it was before, should take 9 months to a year. I am running a hospital in Oklahoma State right now, so do have experience there. That is a 43-bed hospital, fully staffed, around 175 employees working, fully functional ER and OR and inpatient, outpatient. So yes, the experience is there to see where to start and how to proceed, the step-by-step process.
How many beds?
Here, I mean, it'll depend on reading the laws and talking to the health attorney. What is the easy, like, I don't want to make it to a 200-bed hospital and overstaff it. So I would keep it below 50. Because every certain number of beds, you need to have so many physicians and so many staff on board. And that's when it takes, financially it has to be viable, keep it open. I mean, I would say once we open, we don't want to close again ever. So finance will be a big major planning part of it. Yes, sir.
So Sharma, you are proposing a full service ER
Yes.
at that location?
Yes. If the word hospital has to be done, ER has to be there.
Right,
There's
okay.
no way around it.
The other medical services, you mentioned family medicine, cardiology, podiatry, internal medicine.
That
Did
will
I
be
hear-
part of the inpatient.
Okay,
So anybody coming with, like ER means you're handling the trauma, but once you admit the patient inpatient, then we'll be focusing on these cares that these patients will be treated. Otherwise, we stabilize them and move to a different hospital if we are not equipped.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Assuming it takes 9 months to a year to have a hospital, in that interim, will you offer services like as a acute care?
Yes, we can start an outpatient clinic because I'm already licensed to do it. We can start an outpatient kind of an urgent care within a week. So that can be done. And once we have, so a fully functional hospital with all the credentials, all the bells and whistles takes 9 months to a year. But we have the hospital license within 4 months. And that means it will be a functional hospital, but will not be calling people with open arms. It will be mainly uninsured people, because anybody who is insured, he won't get paid on that. Because that will be just out of our pocket.
So even if it's like a acute care center,
In acute care, we can do everything.
yeah, I mean, but if you
Yes,
have Blue
yes,
Cross, you
yes,
can
yes.
use that there,
Because we are in on panel with them.
but you can't be a
Yes.
hospital.
Yeah, we can't be a hospital. So the hospital will need to have a new licensing, new credentialing, and coming on board with all the panels again. Mike has a good, he knows a friend Florida Blue, so that would not be a problem. That can be faster.
And I'm an accountant. Have you figured out, do you have the operating capital to operate until it's a hospital and then thereafter?
That is my question. That's my question. I'm pleading fifth on that. I think that's my summation. And I was able to hold on to the time, the area.
Sure, hold on.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir, yes. Sir.
It's doctor, I assume,
No, it's
correct?
not that.
Oh, it's not doctor. Okay, I'm a new kid on the block. I wasn't here for last presentation, so let me catch myself up a little bit. You said your license, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you're currently operating in Oklahoma?
I know in Jacksonville too. I have a hospital in Oklahoma.
You,
I have clinics in Jacksonville,
you yourself personally have a hospital in Oklahoma? Where in Oklahoma?
Falls Valley,
I'm sorry.
Falls Valley, close to
Okay.
Oklahoma City.
And I assume, and then also you have one in Jacksonville?
I have clinics. I have multiple clinics. in
Clinics,
Jacksonville.
okay. But the hospital you said was a 43-bed hospital
Yes.
in Oklahoma with
Yes.
45 employees. And I,
175 employees.
oh, I'm sorry, 175 employees, okay. And I assume that you will continue to operate the clinic in Jacksonville and the hospital in Oklahoma, as
Yes.
well as this one here in Lake
Yes,
City?
Yes.
So you won't be here actually full-time then?
No, time will tell. I'll be here full time.
You would be here full-time?
Yes, I'll be here full time till the time I find somebody else competent enough to run the show.
Okay,
So I'm not in Oklahoma today. I'm there twice a week, every other week.
I got you, okay.
This
All
is
right.
close to home, so
And in Oklahoma, that is a full-service hospital,
Yes.
ER, the
yes,
whole 9 yards.
yes. A hospital means you need to have an ER.
And then the clinic in Jacksonville's name is
Ace Medical.
Ace Medical.
Yes.
Okay, and the name of your corporation?
I got multiple corporations in Jacksonville. We run as Ace Medical. In Oklahoma, we are Falls Valley Hospital. And I got, yeah. so
Okay.
Different entity, different states.
And how long have you been operating in Jacksonville? How many years?
9 years, 10 years now.
10, and then in Oklahoma?
Almost 2 years.
Okay, and any other states that you have had?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay, good. All right, but in the past?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I will have to.
This is Julie Smith. She's kind of like our chief operating officer. This is kind of like my boss to a certain extent. But to add on what Mr. Sean just said, we have gotten commitment directly as of this morning from Florida Blue to actually set up an office here on this campus on site to help with, facilitating people that don't have insurance to have insurance as well with them. But Donnell Smith has committed, who's the chief executive officer for the North Florida area, to have an office actually on site here in Lake City.
Praise the Lord.
Okay,
We need that.
Lane, this is you.
Thank God. I left Tallahassee at 2 o'clock today. And I didn't even stop to the restroom coming in here. There's a horrible accident on I-10. So I turned around because I sat there for over an hour. I'm like, oh, it's not moving at all. Turned around, went back, went to Monticello, got off. There was a wreck on Highway 90. So Michael heard the panic wherever he just went. So forgive me. I'm a stickler. I was going to be here an hour early so we could all, I want our team to pray together before we had this meeting, and I didn't get to do that, and I'm sorry. I got here, guys, for that. You guys just met Sharma. We are so blessed that he is considering coming here to Lake City. He was ranked #1 3 fastest growing. Have you said any of this? I don't want to repeat anything.
Nope.
Okay, well, in the Jacksonville Business Journal, he was ranked #3 in our state for the fastest growing medical company in our state. He's very humble. He was also ranked in the Inc. 5000 magazine, number 167 in the United States. So how blessed are we to have him to come here? He doesn't need another hospital, I don't think, or another job. So thank you, Sharma, very much for your expertise coming here. I prayed about this. I told Mr. Dale, when Michael called me, I came over here and looked at your facility and set some time. Met a young man named Dwayne. There he's up in the back. He walked us through the facility. And it's really an incredible building. I saw some of the pictures of it lit up, the lake showing. It's just beautiful. There's a lot of work needs to be done in that building. I know you guys know that. And we've got Randall, who is just excellent. I trust him. He and I are working on some projects throughout the state. He's also helping me on a project where I'm working over Union Springs. And I guess I should tell a little bit about me. I'm sorry to walk in so rushed. I'm very rushed right now because of the accident. My name is Julie Smith. My planner, you see. I've been in real estate for a long time. For $1 billion in real estate my career. I was very blessed. I retired in 2011 and like a knucklehead, I went and got another job with the Foundation for Veterans. And that's been amazing. It's been a great experience and learned a lot. Veterans are very dear to me. And that's a big part of what brought me here to Lake City is Michael said he'd be working with the veterans with their transition housing. And that's a big part of this. You know, that's so critical. Over where I'm working at in Walton County, it's a big military installation. There's 7 there actually. When I went and met the wing commander at Eglin, he said, whatever house you build, do not advertise it. Don't do anything. We need it. Whatever it is, please. It's a terrible situation there. You know, they're not paid that much money. And the housing today is so expensive. And they just need a little helping hand to get off center and get back good. These guys here will be here at this hospital, part of the hospital with Sharma. They'll be housed in there. And actually the new part of the hospital. We will take them after they're here 6 months. Be clean, sober. We're also going to have a detox here on site in the future. We want that. It's incredibly important. We will take them at our project over in Union Springs and go through post-secondary education, job training and job placement, and then permanent housing. That's what we'll do. So we'll be working in partnership with you guys here in Lake City throughout. And if some of them want to come back here, Lord to God, that would be beautiful. We hope they get here and feel comfortable. Find this is their beginning of their healing, a place of hope. That's what we'd like to do. So you guys tell me, are there any questions you want to ask me, or I could be here for 2 hours talking about this because I'm really excited about what we're going to do. I know it's a challenge. It's an incredible challenge. It's a little bit scary, a little bit daunting. We're going to have you guys, you know, truly as our partners. We're going to have the community buy-in on this. I haven't been to Lake City in a long time until I came the other day when I met you guys. And I stay till dark. I like to see a town at dark. And a little bit scary around this hospital. I will say that. Across to the lake, and there's someone smoking crack in their car parked right there. I thought, wow. I couldn't believe that. And it's so beautiful. There are people walking, there are people in golf carts and stuff. And I thought, okay, this is a great sign. There's a lot needs to happen here for security. Drugs, I guess, just based on that one time, the observation, they are an issue just like they are everywhere else. It's a true crisis that we have with drugs going on right now. True crisis with a mental crisis we have going on right now. We want to work with both of those. We've got Ms. Kay here that will be working with health and nutrition. She is absolutely beautiful. She's here to talk to you about any of that you guys want to talk to. She's part of our budget, so she's here if you have any questions. She's extremely qualified. She's on home health care. She has a big heart for that. And we're incredibly blessed to have her too. Her heart's aligned with our heart, just like Sharman's aligned with our heart and our vision. Randall, of course, coming up here in the middle of nowhere to come to this project. We appreciate that, Randall. We got to have it done right. And we have the smoking cessation group that's going to be helping us too. They're just incredible. Stop the vaping, stop the smoking. But what questions do you guys have for me? Or anybody in our team too?
Can you give us a broad overview of all the services and what buildings on the campus would be needed and utilized. Sharma kind of gave us a good idea on a timeline of
Okay, good, good.
of what would happen for that part of it anyhow. So if you could just kind of give us a broad overview of services, what buildings on the campus would be used, what they would be used for, that type of thing, and then I think we could dive deeper into.
Yes, it's very important that we have all the buildings. That matters a lot. It's very important that if I put my name on something, this has to be of excellence. We want to be able to control that and control the environment, have true quality control throughout this entire campus. We can't have people moving here, putting their lives in, bringing people in to put their lives into this and their heart and their passion, and then something next door not be as good as we want. This has got to be we want this to be a light again, a true place of hope and where the healing begins. And they feel very comfortable. This is a place, of empowerment, of restoration and true healing here. So in the main building, the hospital, a clinical will be in there, in their OR, the surgical full hospital. He's already gone through that with you guys. We have the VA coming in there now. There's 110 beds the VA will be doing immediately. They are ready to come in when you guys are ready. They're waiting to get a good critical path here. Hopefully tonight we have an understanding of a timeline from you guys as well. So you've got doctors, nurses, people that we want to bring on here, and get started immediately. In the clinical building, there's primary care specialists that will work with case medical also with them. We have a mental health group. It's a special building that you guys have here. It was formerly the Women's Center, the cardiology. We want our future detox and rehab and mental health services. That is incredibly important. We have some people we have in mind. We're vetting them right now. That is so important to the well-being, as you guys know. I was just in the ER recently, and it's so sad. In a matter of just a few, maybe 2.5 hours, 3 young women came in there, 2 white girls and 1 black. They were not crackheads. They had all their teeth. They were beautiful, absolutely beautiful. 2 of them had their parents with them. This was middle class to upper class. I was shocked, and they all had OD. This is on a Tuesday afternoon. My mother has dementia. She was there. Nobody was talking about COVID. Nobody gave my mom a COVID test. Mom didn't even have a mask. None of what you think was happening is COVID. It's a epidemic, y'all. That's a drug epidemic. That was 3 beautiful young girls. I just was shocked. And I could hear what happened when that Narcan shot hit them. I'd never heard that before, the screaming and stuff. That was very traumatic for me. I didn't realize how much it was. So of course I'm there and they said, oh, we could have maybe 6 codes a day here. I'm like, what? And that is in Tallahassee, Florida. That's frightening. So also we have the tobacco prevention awareness that we use the community outreach to help with lower the rates of tobacco, because that's just a gateway. The vaping, you guys all know, you know all about that. That's just a quick gateway into drugs. And that's a new thing. We really want to get the kids off of that. And she can answer any questions about that too. Then we have physical and nutritional wellness.
Ms. Smith, before you go into this next category, Mr. Chairman, can you check with IT to see if the
Caller, we good?
audio is working?
Laptop that I have back here has sound. Some people who are dialed in are recording that they don't have sound.
Everybody on the Zoom meeting hear us okay?
While you're waiting for a response, the legal issue is not whether or not someone else's technology is working correctly, but if our broadcast signal is working correctly, then we can proceed. But the way this meeting was noticed as where people can attend and comment publicly through a communications media technology, if they're unable to do something because of the authority's equipment or service, then we need to pause the meeting until that's fixed.
It appears to be working.
I can't say that because this laptop that I have dialed into the meeting, I've got sound on it, but some people have reported a problem. He's got on his phone, which is not able to get sound. it's an issue in Zoom, we would probably have to start the meeting over again and see. Because the fact that you're getting movement on your microphone there shows that the sound is getting to Zoom, but it's not getting out to people. Who are on
Cynthia, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay,
The weather too, guys.
there.
thank
Okay.
you, Miss Cynthia.
Some of the people he's talking with are saying they got sound. so.
Brandon, I have a
I was just
question.
wondering.
When do we get, if we want to ask her questions, do we wait till everybody's done? Then,
We're gonna have comments at the end.
okay,
This should be a bit. I don't know, it's not an acceptable answer on whether or not we proceed.
I just asked Miss Cynthia, who's on the meeting, and she said she can hear us.
That's great that one consumer of the technology can hear.
We can hear and see fine.
The IT person needs to give us an answer as to whether or not our broadcasting is being broadcast properly.
All I can tell you is the sound is getting to Zoom, and some people are saying they can hear it. So, whatever issue there is between Zoom and the recipients, but we don't know who's not getting it because they're not hearing this ask. Do you have sound?
I suppose a different question to get to the answer is, are you aware of any issues with the services that you are using to broadcast the video and audio signal? Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm not having any issues viewing or hearing the meeting.
Me neither.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bill, can you hear me?
Yes, Stu, we can hear you. Ms. Smith?
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay.
All right.
So, Hippie Help over here, which I love that name, Miss Kay. She's welcome to answer any questions too. She's gonna work on our physical and nutritional wellness, which, improving that management of your health, what you eat, your exercise, that begins the basis for chronic disease. As we all know, your health is your diet, you are what you eat. And we need to really start that early, get good access to good foods into this community, because foods are there and they're available. You gotta make sure people have access to that and they know about exercise, nutrition. That leads to your dental care, everything. We also, dental care is very, very important to us. Kay will be helping truly with the outreach for the community. We have to have that. We want to partner with our churches, the sheriff's department, the police department, the fire department. We want the city employees to be involved. The city employees know more than anybody that handle your trash in the mornings. They see your kids, they see your children. They know more about the heartbeat of this community than anybody. I was in a small town of Clifton, Georgia for many years, and it's just amazing what happens when we tell people how they can help. Everybody wants to be involved with the community. Everybody has charities and things they have a passion for, but they don't know how to help them and how to do it. And you have someone like Miss Kay, and of course I'm gonna be here with her all the time, helping her probably more she wants, because I love doing this stuff. It's incredible how much support you'll get. We did something called Smile Fest, and we're going to do the same exact thing here. We had 325 children show up, of all ages up to 18. 325 kids, you guys showed up to see the dentist. Are you kidding me? I mean, I hate the dentist. Most people do. They were so desperate. Most of them have never been to a dentist in their life. And that was heartbreaking. There's a lot of disease coming from the teeth and the what makes you feel about your look. The foods are available out there. There's healthy, good foods available. You just have to have access to this. And that's a big part of what we want to do as a whole group. And that's why our hearts have aligned on this. We have the same mission and vision, which is get the knowledge out there to all the people in this community and the opportunities that are there. If you get this resources here, and we want to have them join in with us. Another project that worked on was Bonding the Bond, which is the lowest, it's the highest poverty rate in the entire state of Florida, y'all. It's 5 blocks from the capital, Tallahassee. It was the most beautiful, one of the most beautiful days of my life. ACE was out there, not your ACE, but ACE that does the GEDs. They had 40 people sign up for a GED that day. The guy that runs Career Source, and this is on a Saturday, guys, and these are state and federal agencies that came, 24 different sources came, and we want to do the same thing here. And showed the people, they got to know the people. The guy at Career Source was 27 years in that industry. He met more people and learned their dreams and about them and what they needed and wanted that day than he'd ever learned. He was in tears at the end of that day. And all it took was someone, 5'2" and 100 pounds, to say, hey, can you show up? These people are desperate for jobs. They're very intimidated to go into a glass building and maybe not have the right clothes or something. We want to really reach out and have the community wrap around us. And we're going to count on each of you guys for that. And I'll be working with Kay on that, spearheading that, because that's key. Knowledge is power for all these kids. We had the technical college showed up. They give free haircuts. Nobody knew that. These are master stylists there. That's $15 a piece for these kids. I haven't had 10 foster boys, 12 to 17, so I know how much it costs. We didn't know about it. Oh my goodness. And now he shows up. We have a guy that can do it for free and he's awesome. So things like that, we want to bring that awareness to this community. And also start with these kids at a very young age, get with the school systems, teach them about nutrition, teach them about not smoking, teach them about making right choices. And that's where a lot of that confidence comes with. And then we break down a lot of the barriers that they come across. And there comes the mental health issues also. We want to start at a young age and let them know they're loved. They have choices, they have opportunities. So those are all things we want to do on top of the hospital and the every detox and rehab and stuff we're doing. Do you want to go through requests for funding now? Do y'all want to talk about, what do you guys want me to do now?
I got a question, Julie, just to make sure I understand. So the proposal is for really 3 buildings. It's the main hospital, what we call the Women's Center, and the PT building, the physical therapy building.
All 3, yes.
The hospital itself, we've heard from Sharma. We know what his plan is and his timeline. For the VA transitional housing, does Sharma have to be up and operating to support that before those can actually occupy space?
No, they're ready to go now. We need some furnishings there though. That's all we
Okay.
need.
But the medical component in that building doesn't have to be there before you admit your first VA transitional. Okay.
You mentioned 110 beds for the VA, and then Sharma said,
That's available now in phase 1. Is that correct?
Yes.
and Sharma said up to 50 beds.
That one's for the hospital.
It's 99 bed.
So
There's
the
100.
hospital has enough rooms, to be, it has to be used smartly. And we can have both the things in there.
It used to be a bigger hospital.
Yeah. Used to have 300 and some beds.
Some funding.
There's 130 additional beds also, but there's a build out required for that.
I have a question. Okay, so we're talking the hospital, and that would be basically on the first floor and what, part of the second floor?
Yeah. The area will be the VA and the hospital. Basically, we're utilizing what was there before with the previous hospital before y'all added on. But we are going to 55 rooms right now that immediately, without doing any major build out, that we can bring the Veteran Administration in. We already have contracts with them to come in, just waiting on you all right now. We also identified an additional 65 rooms that we can use, and you go 65 times 2, that means you can put up to 200 and some veterans in, all while still having the area for the actual hospital beds, which is separate from that. So yes, it's a great resource. It's an asset, and it would work. We've already had the VA come out, do a preliminary walkthrough. We're waiting on the secondary walkthrough, and of course, waiting on the correspondence that we've submitted to you all, to give to them as well. But it's clear, and we're trying to reach all the strategic goals that you all have set forth right now.
We've got 40 beds right now.
Yeah.
To the hospital.
Literally, it's about meeting all strategic goals together, from strategic priority 1 through 4. That's what we aim to do, and utilize the buildings to do. I mean, Julie can elaborate more. We're going to go through all 4 buildings and show we're using each one for all the way around.
Yeah, so they'll be there together. No, the VA, that's.
Okay.
Yeah, but they can come, they can come, they're waiting. I mean, I literally,
We gotta get furniture back.
yeah, got their furniture, but other than that, we're waiting on, us to, implement now.
So realistically, in your proposal, the VA would be the first tenant.
Yes,
Okay, so you're talking the VA over at the, what we term the Women's Center.
No, the Women's Center is the future. We'll have the future detox or rehab.
Okay.
right.
Okay.
At that building.
And what's the building over here? This, the one story.
That's what we're gonna utilize for,
She's talking about the next one.
right.
That will be probably,
That's about it.
it will be an urgent care,
Urgent
Oh, the
care.
other primary.
the primary care side of it. And that can be opened like
And we
sooner than
also-
later.
Yeah, I can be open before the hospital is open. That's what he was talking about earlier. While we're waiting on the license for the hospital, we can go ahead and get that operation because he already has the staff, doctors and everything else ready to go now. We can open that up fairly immediately. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now the detox unit, you're talking the first floor of the two-story building.
Using both
Correct.
floors. Yes, ma'am.
And then the other part of the building, is that going to be part of the detox or what?
Just the entire building for the women's facility, because you got 2 floors there, and you can separate men and women. Literally, with just a minimal amount of build out on that, with shower and baths, we're gonna utilize that entire building for detox.
Yeah, that remains
Yes,
separate.
separate from the main building, of course. Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yeah, that's a little different dynamic there with that, with the detox. Only that will be in that one. building.
Yes, ma'am. Totally separate.
are you talking about putting beds in that building?
Yes, ma'am. It'll be
It'll be
residential.
it'll be inpatient.
And then put patients on the second floor there?
We'll separate the men on one floor, the women on another.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Separate.
There are a lot of female vets and we
Yeah.
have female spirit that's suffering from drug addiction and everything
Yeah.
else. So it's not just for veterans, it's for the entire community. So, but of course, we know we're gonna get a lot of veteran population business based on the information that we have about what's occurring over here in the very near future with the VA is here. And I've heard that straight from the top in Tallahassee. They are going to close it.
Yes. They don't have a timeline, but it is happening.
Are they going to use it as a nursing home?
Well, they're wanting to relocate over to Gainesville, is what Bob had
Yeah,
said
they
today.
told me everything going there.
They don't have enough room in Gainesville for the number of,
It's federal government.
Yeah. We do have like what they call a silver tsunami in this state. We have 750,000 veterans over the ages of 65. They've got 720 beds. That's not even 1% being covered, so. I don't know what they're gonna do. Bob didn't say, I didn't look at my text. Actually, he texted me today. You see, he may have told me. Let me just look real quick. I'm sorry.
And then she's talking about Bob, and I like to say his name Azos, but you call it another way.
Stallings.
A stylist. It looked like Azos to me, but she calls him a stylist. He's the deputy director for the entire state of Florida. He's the next step to the federal government. And I've been working with him in the past, and pretty much what he says is accurate.
He doesn't say what they're gonna do. He just, they are slated to close.
The VA hospital in Tallahassee.
No, the one right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it says that the plan is to choose, is to close Lake City and move all hospital services down to Gainesville.
Just moving forward here. Big boy.
That's okay. We can use
Oh,
the
yeah,
doctors
yeah,
and
yeah,
nurses.
yeah.
We'll have a, we're gonna have a job there too. We'll have that and make sure we get the word out to everyone. What's coming too. So that, that's huge, needs to be done sooner than later for the VA guys to know that, because that's gonna be devastating. I'm sure they're hearing it there. The director's putting that out to a text and then say, keep it confidential.
I was just going to add to that conversation, what I'm hearing is they're going to cease providing primary care at Lake City VA and move primary care to either the clinic that's here or to Gainesville. The discussion is that Lake City VA will be transitioned into long-term care housing for veterans, such as for dementia and et cetera. That is just hearsay. I do not know that, but I have heard that for some time now. So, and I'm kind of like Julie, you kind of see things already progressing slowly, and over time, small movements are more noticeable. I would agree with Julie. But I also think, you know, we have a history with Sharma because he actually submitted in the first offer for the use of the buildings pre-COVID. So we knew a lot about Sharma, his abilities, his track record, and et cetera. But I also think that Julie is being a little bit modest here because if you've heard of the Veterans Village project in the state of Florida, which I think not only is the largest in the state, but maybe in the country, that's Julie. And of course, they invited me, and it was my pleasure. And I actually got to attend a meeting in Tallahassee with Julie and the state veterans officials and was exposed to that project and what is happening in terms.
1,400 acres.
Yeah, what is happening in terms of our veterans and veteran services and et cetera. And it was really eye-opening to me, if for no other reason, just being somebody who supports veterans. But that is a huge project. And obviously it's not our project, but I do think it says a lot about Julie, her contacts, her ability, and the resources that she has at her disposal as it relates to those services. So she's done too good a job for me not to toot her horn a little bit. Regardless of what happens with all this other, she's to be commended for that. That is a tremendous project for this state, and it will be phenomenal.
Yeah, to really put it in perspective, I mean, I didn't want to do it, but she's doing like 4,600 homes for veterans down in the Phoenix Springs area. It's basically she's creating a whole nother city and town there, which is currently being done right now. You can see it, beautiful. So you can't really really put words on it. You have to see it for yourself. And like their heart is like huge. That's why she's a good friend of mine, a business partner of mine, a social of mine, and I'm just blessed in the world to have her a part of anything that I do.
Well, we want to bring that same passion and excellence here. So I don't want my name associated with anything that's not that. And I told Michael and I told Sharma, this is a challenge. It's an incredible challenge. It's going to take a lot of work, like a tremendous amount of advocacy to bring this community in. We've got to have the buy-in in the community. And for them to believe in this project, we have to have that. And we can do that. I told Michael, this is a lot of work. I've done it before. Woo! But I love a challenge. And you guys, checked on all you guys from a few people. I won't say anything about who, Mr. Douglas. I've called and asked about these guys, but a few other people I know. And you guys, you are a great team. We're very blessed to have you guys here over this authority. I'm hoping you guys will be able to get the taxing back started again once the hospital's up and running. We're gonna need those monies to have the indigent care taken care of. And we want to be able to offer, we want to be a step above. We don't want to just be any hospital. This is such a beautiful setting. It kind of reminds me of St. Vincent's Hospital over in Jacksonville on that water. We should be able to have that same thing here and have this as just such a safe haven around it too. But you guys are a great team. I'm glad we have you guys to work. I hope you guys are a partner.
Have you gotten far enough along in your proposals in total, Mike, to know what you might be looking at in terms of employment, economic impact, et cetera?
Yes, and she's gonna close out with some things as well, concerning that with the actual costs and everything. But we all know that we literally, every strategic priority that the board had since 2013, we have addressed those, and we have, entities in place to make sure they are met. One of the most, and Julie's mentioned a couple of times, Donaldson, who's traveled quite a distance with me, and I don't want her to get away from me. Let's take all this time without you all, these people that's going to impact this community, as well as Ms. Granberry also to understand just how blessed we are to have the best of the best here in front of us all to make it happen. It's not me, it's the people that I know and people around me that are just super people. And I would just love for them to have a brief opportunity so you can introduce themselves, you all let you see what their credentials are and what they're bringing to the table to make sure that we reach each one of these goals. I mean, we come down to nutrition, to tobacco, to of course, we're negotiating and working. We have mental health, we're working on some other things to really make that program work because it's going to be very big. And of course,
Yeah,
access to care, right? It's got to be.
He brought
access to care.
one group and I was like,
Yeah,
let's
right.
look for a couple more.
We've been,
So,
and
want
he's
the best
actually
on
been
it.
working with us on it as well. We've been dissecting everything they bring in. So we've done a lot of due diligence when it comes out of this. So if it's okay, I would definitely, I want to start real briefly with Ms. Adamson so she can explain, because this is about the community and that's hidden access to community
She's
care.
managed you right now.
And also, health, emotional resources for the community. If you would just step forward, tell them a little about yourself and let them know what you bring to the table, because when Julie's closes out and tell you what the resources need to do it, you understand why.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kaylee Donaldson. Everyone calls me Kay. And I'll be overseeing the home health part of this project. And I like to really call it the comprehensive community health care initiative, where we're going out into the community, we're increasing access to healthcare by educating people and what's available to them, and also working with providers in the community to get the individuals the care they need. I've been a nurse for about 20 years, and I started a company several years ago called Hippie Health, and the meaning of it is helping you prevent illness and exacerbation. And we really focus on preventative care and also looking at patients individually and see what they need to work on within their homes, with their families and communities to keep them healthy, keep them utilizing the healthcare system efficiently, to prevent waste, going to the ERs when needed, seeking primary care when that's appropriate, and working also with the hospital systems in referrals and providing all management. Questions?
Okay,
Yes,
obviously you've done this at other places.
yes.
Could you share with us some of those places where you created these outreach
Well,
efforts?
I have done programs with, within California, Dublin, California. I did programs within Charlotte, North Carolina, with smaller companies, home health companies to integrate better communications within their communities and help manage programs there. I've also worked a lot with North and South Florida companies, mostly within the home health sector to provide care. I've educated and trained clinicians for a lot of these programs. I've built and implemented these programs in several of these areas.
She helped consult with Michael several years ago with a few of his clinics. That's how he met her. She did a great job making a big turnaround. And that's why he wanted her to be a part of this too. She'd proven herself before she knew she would ever be some part of it. Thank you for that. Questions? Randall, you want to introduce yourself? Julie doing construction. No pressure, but we need.
No
to
pressure,
hurry.
no pressure.
And
I mean,
don't
give
be
instructions.
modest, let them know who you are. I mean, he plays down another Julie right here about construction projects.
I'm
He's
no Julie.
And he's a national hero also when coming out to being a veteran. He's not going to talk about that as well, but he is one of our heroes.
I'm proud. I graduated from Florida A&M University, ROTC department. Got commissioned in the military. Was an
What's your
infantry
what's your
officer.
last name?
Randall Grander, GRANBE.
Granbury Farm.
Like Cranberry with a G.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm originally from Marietta,
In
Florida,
Granbury Farms.
but I'm based in South Florida right now. I've met Mike, excuse me, through one of my colleagues. I do all of their medical facilities in Indiana, in Massachusetts. We do their build outs, their design. The hospital that they did in Mishawaka, Indiana, and a lot of their facilities that they have in West Palm Beach, Florida. Well, we've looked at the facility, just a little bit with Dwayne, walking through the facility and seeing some of the needs and stuff. We haven't really drilled down specifically what all of the needs for the facility are, but one of the needs that we've been aware of, and then Dwayne has made us aware, and also Mike has made us aware of, is the efficiency of how it's running. We looked at redoing some of the systems and things of that nature, and hopefully we came up with I like to call it an opinion of probable costs, but if there's some future investigations that need to be done to bring to you guys a actual, drill down scope, more specific to what they need. That's in it of a nutshell. Just a little bit more about me. Once I got out of the military, I started my career as a government land planner for Palm Beach County. Then moved over to the city of West Palm Beach, and then became a construction project manager for Palm Beach County School District. Did a lot of government work along with my partner, Ruel Miles, and another one of my partners here, Yetzi Schomburg. We do development together, so she does all of the regulatory stuff that we need in order, to getting permits or getting public approvals and things of that nature. So, we have a lot of experience, in the healthcare business, building, looking at the codes, the hospitals and stuff that I was discussing with Sean, making sure that, the rooms are the right size, you have the correct amount of restrooms in the area, making sure that you meet the fire code and things of that nature. So, we're willing, we're excited, and we're ready. Okay.
See, Randall went to the top of my list of a lot of people. He saved me from a $5 million mistake. Veterans Lodge. And he was the only one, and I'm forever grateful, that spoke up. Because all of the guys were just going to take the job and do it. And he was gracious enough. It costs a lot of money to put bids in, especially a big project like ours. He spent a lot of money. He says, I'll turn everything I have over to whoever gets the bid, but this is what's wrong. It's $5 million mistake. And nobody said a word but him. That says a lot. See, I just found and built. Now I wouldn't have known it until it was too late, and I'd have been terribly upset person. Thank you for that. Anybody else?
Have you all done a project similar to this together on this in another location, something bringing the hospital, VA, mental health, all of it together?
That's what I am doing currently.
Yeah, we haven't been together, but each one of us done it. That's we've done really, we're doing it together now. That's why it's better than anything separate. Each one of us got experience in doing it separately. So this combination there is site, organization, experience, operations, development. It's just, I couldn't get a better team than what we got. The only person we have missing here today, unfortunately, her child was having a graduation today. And she's actually I don't know if you all know what a middle school coordinator is, but they're the individuals that does this smoking and tobacco usage and with the counties and school boards reduction. And she's got a tremendous amount of experience, and she's actually given us a PowerPoint, which I'll show you up, we'll get it later. But it's pretty much, she got a real aggressive plan to work with meeting that strategic priority dealing with the smoking side of that. I think it's number 3, your priority number 3. So basically what we're doing is going and trying to meet every strategic priority that you all have. We're gonna address each one of those. And these folks are doing their own ways and flew in, drove and everything else to be here tonight. I thank all of them for coming to see you all tonight. I appreciate that.
Well,
Yeah, question behind.
oh, I'm sorry.
Randall, have you seen the report that we had, the engineering report for the skin of the hospital?
Yeah, I've seen.
You've seen it? Okay. What was your opinion there with that?
Yeah, just the report that Dwayne provided, you know, not so much the report, but actually walking the facilities and, you know, speaking to Dwayne about, you know, the energy usage on in the building and looking at all of the equipment that you have down in your mechanical room that is really not needed. So what we what came up with, you know, just a preliminary stage. We had a Zoom meeting probably about a couple of weeks ago with our engineering MEP team, just to, you know, go over that report, and they still digested it, and they're gonna come back with recommendations. So, you know, I don't want to say anything at this moment, but I want to wait for those recommendations to come back, and then we'll, you know, give them to Dwayne and Mike, and we'll go forward from there.
Okay. Okay. Are you, and help me on this, I'm just trying to figure out who you are. Are you a consultant? Are you a contractor?
No, we
You
are a
designer?
contractor.
You are
We
a contractor?
Land Developers Consortium is a licensed construction company.
What was the name of the company?
Land Developers Consortium,
Land Developers Consortium. I'm sorry, I missed that.
LDC. We're a licensed construction company.
Okay. So that's, I couldn't figure it out. I was like,
No,
is he
no.
a project manager? Is he a designer? Is he a consultant?
Yeah, well, we kind of like to do design build. You know, we work with, we actually got projects with CDM Smith. I know that you guys know that they're a big water treatment engineer, and a design build contractor. We have projects with, you know, Palm Beach County School District and other municipalities. But basically, we like to do the design build because if you can diagnose the problem from the infancy stage of it, you can better know how to, you know, recommend a cost-effective way to build a project or to redesign it. You may not need as much money as you know, we originally said that you need. We came up with a very pie in the sky cost estimate, but that cost estimate, you know, holds no water until everybody gets on the ground and figure out what's really going on. Because I know you have some roof issues and things of that nature that may not need a new roof, that we may can, you know, fix to the interim stages of it. I don't know, I think Mike really said that, you know, through that VA program where they have the transitional housing, there are grants that you can apply for, because if their people are there in that facility, it will augment the monies that you have to better, you know, restore the building back to its past glory. Okay.
That'll be an important part of our partnership, is that you guys work with us and not hinder us. If there are any grants we'll need to have the city on board, the county on board, or maybe it's the hospital authority, because we can't do one without you guys. And we need to walk through that process. You, I guess, of how for that mainly. That's very, very important, because there are tons of programmatic dollars to be used for the drug and alcohol rehab, for the VAs and things like that. There's so much money there, and we want to be able to use every dollar we can. That'd be an important part of our agreement.
Just one quick thing that, you know, like what Mike brought us on board, to create a plan, you know what I mean? A plan that, you know, through attrition, that you can, you know, get to your goals, you know, value engineer everything that you're doing, and create a plan to present to you, and, you know, and once that plan is ratified and approved, you know, we do act as construction managers, and something like a design bill, a progressive design bill, where you know, you'll see all the numbers and things of that nature, and we manage those projects. So
Okay.
yes, in a sorts, we are project managers or construction project managers.
Thank you.
Mr. Richard had a question.
Okay, and possibly, I may be jumping ahead, but I know healthcare services are extremely expensive to provide. When you're starting up something from scratch, there's a lot of upfront costs and operating costs while you don't have the patients. So is there a business plan that has calculated the funding needs and
For sure. For instance, with the hospital, Sharma came with the best guess he could. We had said $917,000. He and I talked about that. He would give you an accounting of that. He'd make it go as far as he can. He's gonna have to hire a doctor. He has to have a director of nursing, a lab technician. Those are things you're gonna have to have on staff to get your license. Those are things that have to come up. There may be a contingency that we need to have that, an additional fund for that, but we would take that first 917, draw down on that, and you would see every number where it's going and what we're doing and where we're going with that. That's an example. Is that what you're talking about?
well, for sure. Okay, so one element as to the hospital, you would ask the authority for 900.
Yeah, 917 is actually.
917.
Yeah, he did a little work on that.
And it was, okay. Our history is that the authority generally pays for patient services. And so could that be constructed or developed so that it bought some amount of patient visits?
That would probably be a legal question, how we could work that money, because that would be money's needed for him to get started. We also need to make sure what of the equipment works. When you get to really see if there's something to be updated or not, that might be an additional expense. But how it would need to work for you guys with the hospital authority, I'm not familiar with the hospital authority. This is my first adventure with this, so I'm sure between the accounting attorney, you guys could tell us best. How would we work that? Was it you worded a certain way?
So after spending the 900,000, it'll be a hospital then?
You're hoping so. That is our goal.
Okay. And then would it require a public subsidy after there's a hospital?
Yes, in the indigent care, absolutely. We're gonna probably need that in this area. This is a severely distressed area. It's gonna take us time to get the education out there on insurance. So many people can be insured and they're not, because they don't know about the opportunities and the awareness, and that's some of the stuff that we'll all be working on together and have those fairs, whatever it takes to get that. I don't know what your local grocery store is. Do we need to hand out flyers on Wednesday, the meat sale day? Whatever it takes, we've got to get these people the knowledge and the opportunities.
Okay, so what our history is, and I've just been here a long time. I'm
Yeah,
older,
tell me. I'm learning.
is that there was an indigent care agreement with the hospital provider that paid for hospital admissions at a discounted rate for eligible patients. So it's not for every patient, but that be Columbia County and qualified. And then there was also, and there still is, there are primary care agreements where the authority sends patients to doctor's offices and clinics.
Okay.
And pays the discounted rate for that. And that's our history, let's say 25-year history of providing
That's beautiful.
indigent care. And
That's
so it's not, the history isn't to give subsidies, it's rather to provide services to patients?
Well, we're gonna need some budget dollars for a lot of work needs to be done here. And Randall's done the best he can. Okay, he's right behind me. The best he could come up with on the budget was $10 million. And of course, that would be broken down once he gets in here, because it's gonna cost money to get in here and actually come up with a true budget that costs money. But right now, he came up with $10 million, which is a one-time cost. We have $180,000 for the furniture for veterans apartments.
Is that in the 10?
Yeah.
That's separate.
The $10 million, the one-time cost on, to get the hospital up to par, the boiler system's gotta be done. There's other things you just don't know. That was his estimate, just spending time with Dwayne. And of course, that would be to you itemized, Richard, to the, as we go. If you wanna leave a contingency in there, because you don't know what you're gonna find. Prayerfully, it's not that much, but we want to at least have that much allocated to make sure it's there. There is the 917.
Okay, so the 917 is non-recurring. Is
Well,
the
we-
start of the hospital going?
We hope so. We may need to get more. He's gonna get in there. He's gotta see what equipment works. He's gonna operate it. He's gonna get the lab technician to come in. I pray that stuff doesn't have to be replaced. I don't know. How do you feel about the equipment,
The
John?
lab equipment is.
Antiquated, antiquated,
It has to be changed.
Yeah.
All of it, like, it is what, it's junk.
antiquated.
Okay, so you're gonna have to get a budget for that too.
Yes, so once we get into them, we'll see.
Okay.
Once somebody has to come to the preventive maintenance and see what equipment is working, what is not.
Okay, yeah, okay. So, it may be that there be a second 917. How do you get 917?
With the experience of running the hospital. we know
Yeah,
what
that's
all we
perfect.
need.
So there may be a contingency that will need to come back for additional money on that after he goes into the lab.
Okay, and then you have a one-time capital cost of the hospital, whatever it is, that's the 10 million we've heard about. And then to get the VA going, you need 180,000, 200 or something. And so is there any, is there, in the VA, are there any other startup costs, or do you have to wait to get the money in?
No, there shouldn't be any other startup costs on that. They're ready to come in because there's such a need for that. The sooner we get them, the better.
Okay, and then so on the other services that you contemplate, or will there be startup costs on those?
Yeah, with the preventative community outreach, tobacco prevention and awareness, it's 203,000 annually. That's a one-time only. The chronic disease, nutritional wellness, that's 112,000, one time only.
Is the 203 one time?
One time only.
Okay.
And then on she'll be able to raise her own money, get the contracts, everything, have the people hired. She can then take it on her own. Ms. Kay, she said that's 1 year, she should be good. The physical, the chronic disease is 112,000 one time. Tobacco prevention 203 one time. And they have a breakdown of what those expenses are, where they're going, and how they come up with that. We'll give to you also.
Roughly $500,000 for all the non-hospital costs start at. Okay, and then to get the hospital started up is somewhere between 900 and 1.5 million or something. Okay, and then to get the hospital building, and I'm not negotiating, I'm just an accountant, so I do numbers. I'm not.
Yeah, when was two, we got one or two,
Okay. In the hospital, is that the hospital, will the other buildings need substantial capital? Or is that in the numbers?
Randall, that was pretty much covering all of them.
Yeah,
That was
pretty much
covering
covering.
Yeah.
So 10,
Are you gonna provide a list of what you're reading from to the board?
okay, so
Oh, this
it's,
is my stuff. You don't want to read it.
okay, so
But I
the
can give you some
startup
notes, for sure.
is around 12 million.
Yeah, that was a whole campus. Yes, 10, 11 and a half maybe. Now, And it may be, like I said, we gotta get in there. It's very important for this equipment. We need the best equipment.
Well, and if the lab stuff didn't,
We need to make sure about that. 'Cause that can be expensive. We will get a number for you immediately. As soon
and
as.
it's amazing if you ever have experience with labs when they can get results in like.
We really do have great.
Okay, so, and then the VA is gonna fund itself. All the other services will fund themselves.
Yes, it's about sustainability. We're trying to
Okay,
create
so then the only thing that is the hospital. Have you seen how much of a figured how much of the, how much the patient revenue is not going to bring in?
Yes.
Once it is up and running, I was,
That's after the 1.5 million.
so after we are completely licensed, we are up and running 24/7 as an ER. The expense should be around $1 million a month, and with a projection of $1 million, I should be bringing in 1.5.
So it should operate
Yes,
on its
but,
own because you're
yeah,
saying that
this
the
is-
revenue.
This is counting everybody insured.
That
I'm
the
not,
insured.
yeah, I'm not counting uninsured patients.
So what you're saying, and I surely you have experience that once the hospital's up and running, it will make money.
It will.
So it will
Because
try.
we don't believe in top heavy, so we will not have a CEO and a CFO and CEO and
Okay, so you're not really projecting any recurring funds from the
recurring funds
authority.
would be once we get in until the time the hospital is started. So that is kind of, just, we don't know. Once we get in the building, we see what is wrong, what is not wrong. And if the government supports, gives us a license in a month, then yes, it scales down. If it takes 6 months, it scales up. So that is something cannot be projected.
Okay, so do you as a group or individually have operating capital? Because I know in healthcare, you have to do the service and then the bill and get the money in. And,
Once we are up and running, yes, we have the operating capital.
yeah, so you can fund that type of
Yeah,
stuff.
once we are fully up and running, yes.
And then you can take over all the maintenance of the building.
Well, that's automatic. We're doing it anyhow, everything. That's part of the whole
Well,
proposal.
it's after 12 million, so.
Yeah, hopefully it's not
Yeah,
on
new
maintenance.
hospital,
Still
that's
gonna be
not-
some.
Okay, but anyway.
Our goal is to make $0
The authority
on
will
maintenance.
be removed from
Oh, of
those
course, yes, sir.
ongoing obligations.
Yes, sir.
So our goal was, to have an MOU, an understanding, and from that point, have the keys to the buildings to actually get in to do a deep dive and have a critical path forward for you guys and for us and for the doctors, everybody's on the standby that we're gonna need. We've got to give them a real critical path forward. And I know this is, Michael's been here about 5 months. It's been a lot of money so far on due diligence, but now we need to get around to nuts and bolts of this and really pull the business plan together, pull everything together. It'll probably take, I don't know, we'll pull every string we can, but it may take, 4 or 5 months to get the licensure. I don't know. We're hoping not. Maybe shorter. Well, I will
With
call.
the
make some
government,
calls.
it's always
Yeah, we'll
longer, so
hopefully make it. What's that?
with the government, it's always longer.
Well, we've got a little pool in there, so I've got some. Well, we'll definitely call in, because we want it open sooner the better, because even when we were here the other day, the people were stopping by the emergency room. It's sad.
Are people back in their office at Octa now? In Tallahassee?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, they had surveys that place over the other day.
Okay, so they're not working from home and they're
No,
not.
they back, unfortunately, back in office now.
Okay, all right.
Because they getting out to the facilities. I know that for a fact.
Okay.
Yeah. But we've got some contacts that we'll definitely lean on. The sooner the better for everybody. This is, you're ready to go. We don't want to lose him. We want him on with the board with us. We're gonna do everything we can to help him. have a
And
smooth
then,
transition.
I know that construction, and we've always heard with ACA that, to do any, so.
We want to do it prior to getting that licensure. You gotta get in there and hold me.
So does opening the hospital, is it contingent on having all of the improvements
Yes,
done?
it's not all, but some of it, because once they come in for a visit, it has to be perfect.
Yes.
Otherwise, they take another 30 days and they come back again and the cost is.
So, and then, but you don't have to have like approval to do all the improvements if it's not a hospital.
No.
Is that right?
Just go to the guidelines.
So, yeah, I
You
know, I
know.
know, our experience with that hospital. when they repair a roof or anything, they have to have like approval and.
Once
Yeah,
you're
because they have to
licensed,
close the building down for a certain period, Tanaka has to be notified. If you don't need the approval, they have to be notified.
see, we want to get everything done, everything, Randy.
Right.
I know, before we get the license. We'd like to start work immediately as soon as we have an understanding agreement going forward. We'd like to get the keys to the building, hit the ground running and get it operational. Then we call.
Yeah,
As we're moving
that's-
parallel getting license.
That's why it's so important, have our team on the ground as soon as possible so that we can, that 10 million may not be 10 million. The 10 million is a opinion of probable cost, just based on other projects and things of that nature, But once we get a full evaluation of the building, you'll have a more succinct, a more specific budget. That you have before you. Okay.
And I didn't get one chance, one other individual here, I didn't get a chance to introduce, two other individuals that, but when it come down to having the resources and infrastructure and we've got the best team we could possibly think of. Make sure when we're doing all these things, there's documentation and being as efficient as possible in doing it.
Okay, we're gonna have to take a break so we can switch over to the audio tape. We don't have the technology that. We're gonna take a quick 5-minute break. And we'll be right back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so is that?
All right, we'll go ahead.
It's,
Call the meeting
well,
back
it's a
to order.
loser. They're in double elimination. Florida lives to play another game.
Sorry about that. Ready to go.
Hey, Grace.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I was just gonna kind of break down this, he had a lot of questions, kind of give a summary of what he did. I should have added that up before I came in. It's approximately 11 and a half million. That's what we're looking at to get this on.
Did you add an extra for the lab?
No, that's
That's
10
a-
million for the campus.
I came
remodel.
up for 12 because he said he needed lab stuff.
Yeah, you think it'd be that much, or maybe, well, there's 10 million for the campus remodel, we put 920,000. And then possibly additional to get their licensure and replace equipment, that will have to get you the detailed. You want to add another million?
Once we get it, you know.
You have no idea.
It's only once we get it.
Yeah, there's no way.
The first lab I started costed me $1.5 million. The second lab costed me 300,000. So the experience does get you somewhere.
Perfect, that would be great. So,
And you definitely need new X-ray equipment.
I have not seen those.
I have.
Okay.
Oh.
And the OR needs upgrading.
Yes, OR definitely needs, but I don't know, like, it says it was last checked in 2020, to be PM on 2021, so till the time somebody comes who has really done it, it's not how it looks. If it is functioning, you know, and we don't need all the 6 OR, we just need 2 of them. So pulling from 6 pieces, making it to 2, that works.
yeah, any dollars we can save, we will, because we never will need them in the future, you never know. Yeah. So that's approximately, so 11.5 million, depending on what happens. And our goal is to be totally operational, within 4 months. That's our goal. And that would be have us with the uninsured right then, because that's your first stop. Medicare and Blue Cross Blue Shield, all the others come along after that, but you have to get that first. And we will pull all strings. I know some people there that I'm gonna be calling to help us get this done sooner. And we all want it done sooner.
They're saying 4 months after renovations are completed.
We're gonna be doing renovations while we're getting the licensure.
Okay.
Now, if we get too quick, we'll have to hold up. Randall, have to get really busy. About how, do you think you can do it within 4 months, Randall? What you need to do?
Well, we have to get into the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
Well, and that depends, okay. Hopefully, he can, at least get part of the hospital done, he can do the other campuses area
Right.
later. But at least
We can
get
phase
the
it.
ER, yeah.
Yes.
once we get 1 OR operational, the ER partially functional, we can apply for the license. So it's like, if we can fix that in 15 days, the license can be applied in 15 days. So they don't come out immediately, they give you a notice when they're coming out, and we know with experience what deficiency we'll have to fix it by the time they come. So it's just, the time is money, so we, as much as time we can save, the more, efficient we can be.
Question. Randall, I'm assuming that the medical industry has the same supply chain issues and all that everybody else is having.
You're assuming, right?
Okay. So what does that do to the estimate? Is that built into that 4 months or is not, or too early to tell, or?
I think it's just a little bit too early to tell, but with regards to the 4 months, and whatever the eventual plan is, we perform, we expect to put together, a phasing plan, basically what's priority first now. But this hospital, if it's simple architectural construction and stuff like that, the supply chain is not as bad. You know what I mean? Now doors, windows, and units, that poses a problem right now.
Hopefully no pipe
Right.
anywhere, that's the worst.
But again, for clarification, while all that's going on, should this come to pass, you can still do the VA component
Correct.
separate from and regardless of the status of that. You can still do the urgent care center over at the
It can be
P.
done in a week or 2 weeks time.
Okay, that's a week or 2 weeks. So those can be up and operational while you're doing all this.
Yes.
Just making sure I
And if we
understand.
see a construction issue or something like supply issue, we can apply for a 25-bed hospital instead of a 50-bed hospital. So see what is functional and where to put the roadblocks in the hospital. Like do not access this area, use only this area. So it's like, once we get in, we'll know what to do.
Okay, I have a question. You were talking about the indigent care. I get the feeling that you expect us to take care of all the indigent care.
Yeah, that would be a part of what we would ask from the hospital authority, is to fill in that gap if we need it.
Okay, we have people from 5 counties that come here.
Wow, that's wonderful. That it's gonna change a lot of people's lives.
It's just the way it is.
Wow.
We cannot be responsible for anything but Columbia County to begin with.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, with the program that Richard was talking about, anything over what Medicaid pays, are the people that are not eligible for Medicaid, we will take them into our program as long as their income
Right.
is not more than 200% of whatever the government stats are today.
Right.
And we pay at Medicaid rates. Now, what about the people that aren't in the program?
That's part of our process. We're gonna be getting these people knowledgeable and let them know what is available. Because that's a big part of this. A lot of them can't qualify, and we want to make sure they are qualified. And then the ones that cannot qualify, we're gonna have to figure out how you want to handle that. That you're the boss of the hospital, you have to figure out how you want to
I
handle
mean,
that.
there is always 5 to 8% that is unpaid, but I'm in business of healthcare. You know, everybody would like, all my employees would like to get paid. Even I would like to get paid for my time at least. So we'll have to see, once we get there.
Well, that's why I'm asking.
And the plan is exactly, we mentioned before, we're gonna work diligently. If you mentioned about Florida Blue coming in, and when I tell you I'm on the phone line, it's the reason why. They have actual plans outside of a regular plan where if you don't have any insurance, and that's why we want to have that on site to make sure the load is not too heavy on us with uninsured, the assistive care, the assistive resources that you all have here, making sure that that credential is met. Nobody that's not been here for over 90 days or live in this community, that one of the criteria you have set in place, we're gonna have that very strictly adhered to, as well as promote, come in so you can see and identify which types of insurance plans out there that you do qualify. It's all about sustainability and making sure the
Yeah.
hospital got money.
No, I will understand that,
That's what we're trying to do.
but I'm saying that we cannot be responsible.
Just for the Columbia County.
Right.
And only if they fit within our criteria,
Absolutely.
That's what.
okay? Because just because somebody stiffs you with a bill, that's not our fault.
Oh, gosh.
And I know they do. Okay. And maybe there needs to be an approach to the other counties.
Well, that's something to think about,
Yeah.
especially if we could open as well, but worrying about us here now, which we worry about
Okay.
here. I mean, we definitely don't want that to happen. That's why I've done due diligence, done research here with y'all's office locally. But then, went over what's the criteria and everything to get an idea, okay, what needs to be done to make sure certain individuals are able to receive it and ones that don't qualify for it, of course. And my solution was immediately I went back to Jacksonville, sit down with a major provider and say, look, help me figure this problem out. And that's when he said, we want to set up an actual office there to help you do this. And
Well,
we'll help
plus
you.
we have a lot of state employees here in Columbia County.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I don't think about us doing anything anywhere else.
No.
And
you're
there's
not.
another way too, we have a lot of foundations like community programs around, and working with Donnell, they're a not-for-profit. There may be a way, we help some people with their premiums on their insurance. That might be a great community outreach program we can do through hospital.
Yeah, they have
Community
program
grants.
in place, actually.
Okay,
So really-
my next question is, let's theoretically say that today we said yes. How long before you move into buildings?
Probably 10 days,
I
2
would
weeks.
say, I would say as quick as it takes to get the furniture for the VA side of it, maybe a week or 2 weeks, depending on if we got to go to Tennessee. If I got to send a semi to Tennessee, I already know the furniture's at. I have that in there. Let them come out and do their walkthrough, last walkthrough, maybe a week, if you could really pushing it. But
It's
of course,
Memorial
it's
Day
set for the
weekend.
first,
Yeah.
we want to push it because we're gonna do it the first of the month, but we could do it fairly. Yes.
Okay, so you could open like the women's center, that's gonna be your detox unit.
That
No,
won't be in a
no,
week.
we need to
ma'am.
vet that out.
We gotta wait a little while on that. It's gonna be a while for that.
What about the one-story building?
Immediately.
If the
Sean,
one story, we
have
can make
that
an
over
urgent care there.
How many days?
Yeah, a week, 2
We got
weeks.
2 weeks. You can have that already being serviced community right now, because
I mean,
yes,
yeah,
provided
so that-
substantial-
that I can hire somebody.
But the hospital proper, how long before that?
We're talking 3 months. Give or take.
3 to 4 months. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
3
enough.
months.
Okay, now wait a minute. You're talking
The VA.
the hospital.
The VA can be in the hospital soon and depending, that's why. it's
That,
saying a
yes,
week or 2
that's what
weeks.
I'm trying to figure out.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Just needs furniture.
ER and hospital part would be 4 months.
Okay, yes, because that needs occup.
Yes, ma'am.
But the VA does not
No,
need,
man, they come out, the VA does their thing, they do their own thing, they come out and do their own survey and inspection. And they've done a preliminary one already, and they've actually told us some of the things to do, and I think some of them already been done.
okay, now this would be like the second and third floor.
The floors that I think that VA, the hospital is only gonna use, before you use the shop,
Second floor.
and everything else be VA,
So the third and fourth floor would be VA.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, so there's
Unless you
no,
all have some other plans that you want. to do.
there's no provision for any OBGYN.
So,
Yeah, because the hospital was the first floor and the third floor, and second and fourth would go for the VA.
right. Be better now.
Okay, but there's no provision for OBGYN at all.
The hospital will have OBGYN.
The hospital will, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, if I'm having an ER, I will have to have everything, like the basic things has to be there.
Because we have no OBGYN, no OB, okay,
And the hospital will have an OB.
okay.
Yes.
When I was going over numbers and all, I possibly misheard you, that you said that once a hospital is operating, that the revenues from insured patients will exceed your operating costs. I thought I heard maybe the revenue was 1.5 million, operating costs were 1 million a month.
Yes,
Okay, so, and that's only insured revenues.
yes.
Okay, so the indigent care component, you're not really asking, you don't need a subsidy.
I need everything, whatever you will give me.
Yes, okay, understand, okay, understand.
Please recall me,
Yeah.
if that's what's in your bylaws that you guys have done in the past, if you could continue that would be beautiful.
We're taking an extremely conservative approach. If you hadn't noticed, the reason why your larger hospitals don't even come here because in fact it's not enough money for them. The profit margin is not there. It's not that they can make profit. It's just that we're being extremely conservative and trying to meet the needs of the community and be realistic. And that's why we got that component over there with the VA to offset the cost of the hospital and some of the expenses that they got. No matter what, the VA people alone takes care of everything on this campus by itself, just like the city.
Mike, what's your plans for the cafeteria and all
We're
of
bringing
that?
it out on, there's the two items right now, they're out past, or not that, we're waiting on, they're been real well, is the women's building and the cafeteria, because
We'd love
that,
college campus, the college here,
there was so,
we'd love them to come do it. They would.
well, what we did, would have liked for them to come, and we got a great plan for them, and hope that they would have participated. We wanted them to bring over their culinary school to us here, and they could supply the hospital and supply the veterans, whatever meals, as well as open the cafeteria back up like it was before. But we all just work together. In a perfect world, we would have had Meridian also doing the behavioral health, but but that didn't work that way. So what we're trying to do now, we're looking at bringing something even better. But just let's put it this way, we will have dietary for the hospital and those veterans. And I don't want to give away what we plan on bringing right now, NDAs and everything else, is about taking advantage of our ideals. It will be great, but we'll meet those requirements that have to be met. I've learned that right now, saying certain things, those people say, I take it up and do it before I get back over here. You know what I mean? Not today.
What do you guys want as a hospital authority?
Somebody come in and take it over for free.
Okay,
What
yeah.
Free.
Yeah,
It was free that work.
it's tough to get this group together here after hours. We'd like to get everything we can done tonight if possible. If you guys could have a vote tonight, would be wonderful. And we can get started. We got people, we've got them hold, we're ready to go.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind. Thank you all, each and every one of you for being here.
Thank you guys too.
I feel like I've been hit with the fire hose.
Yeah.
And
True.
there's several, it looks like to me, different entities, corporations, LLCs that we're talking to here and hearing from. I keep hearing the term team, and the team sounds great. Team concept is great, but we all know that on a team, I'm looking at 4 or 5 or 6 different quarterbacks here and really no head coach. And that's Hope Bridges, that I guess would be the head coach. So my question, I guess, to Hope Bridges would be, what happens if your team falls apart and you start losing some of your quarterbacks?
So if we have any problem in the nature provider, we have against the hospital side of it. If we lose that, we get enough provider for the hospital. We have other entities out there that we discuss on bringing in people in, but that's the major part. I don't think the federal government gonna fall apart. We're pretty good with them, their state, but that was the main thing, having the VA there. And that's, if you think about it, that's it.
Has this team undertaken any project in the country like this?
No, this is the first.
This is the first.
Okay. Lake City has a
Every-
chance to be the first to do this.
I got
And
you.
really be great at this if we do this right way. We all work together, y'all part of our team. I mean,
Right.
everything works together.
And like you say, part of the team, you know, I like to know my team members. And Mr. Peacock, I've met you, I've talked to you, but I haven't seen a resume or a professional curriculum vita from you, nor the others. Would that be possible that we could get that
Sure,
from each one of you
yes.
and the different corporations that you have? And then also in your outline with Hope Bridges, it's more, right now, I've got a better concept, but from walking through the hospital myself with Dwayne, I was under the impression that it was a 99 bed, 100 bed hospital, all 4 floors. I am now hearing we may see 200 beds in that hospital.
So every 1 bed is taking 2 VA patients.
Say that again?
1 bed is taking 2 VA patients, so the number goes up.
Okay, all right. And I assume that the VA standards will accept that.
Yes.
Okay. Is there any way that Hope Bridges could provide us a more detailed of what we heard tonight as far as what the team would like to do?
Yes, sir. I mean, actually, yes, no problem.
That's it, Mr. Chair. That's all I've got.
We haven't discussed anything about lease or anything like that. I don't know if that's in any type of proposal.
Well, it was like a 10-year lease.
Okay.
And then have option 2 and do another 10. We would take away your expenses. We would not be paying anything for the lease. We would just alleviate your cost.
Excuse me,
You would have your expenses coming out that you're having to pay now.
you're paying nothing for leasing any of this.
you all are taking care of all maintenance. I think we talked about that earlier.
Liability, everything that comes over to us.
The authority to be contracting with Hope Bridges. Is that correct? That's who that's-
How long has this hospital been closed? How long has it been closed down?
It's closed in 20
September 2020.
Almost 2 years.
and to the greatest extent we could, Julie, we tried to maintain the building. And when I say maintain it, we tried to keep humidity control. You know, we kept all of the systems up and running and et cetera. But to what extent that affected or did not affect equipment, I don't
The
know.
lab equipment is done.
Yeah.
It's, you'll have to pay somebody to take it out. Yeah.
From your perspective, is it everything that you're proposing or nothing? And I'm just picking one thing that I've got written right here. It's not that I'm against it, but the $203,000 for the tobacco program, Department of Health and other entities do. So if we decided, if we said we didn't want to do that to begin with, it may be something we look at in the future. I mean, is it something that you all are, this is all or nothing? We have to, do every part of your proposal, or?
Well, now, we were answering your questions. That was part of your wish list. We tried to address those, and that's why I brought in the best you could in each.
And I'm not picking on that one specifically, I'm just saying if there was something that.
If it's one of those things, one of your goals that you're not that worried about, just mark it off and let's pick the other thing. We don't have to do those other things. I mean, I'm just going with the hospital authority. That's what I went by. I thought we was making needs on it. And,
Do you see would you anticipate any restrictions or limitations in negotiating a contract? I mean, said memorandum of understanding to get started and that type of thing, but obviously the contract
No.
leads to this extent would be quite expensive, so.
Well, we would like the memorandum of understanding to have the basics. We have a meeting in mind to go forward, so we don't feel afraid to spend the money, because it's gonna be very expensive getting in. His time's worth a lot of money, all of our time, and we have to really get into this. We just want basic understanding, so we have these terms, the price, terms, and have a general in that memorandum of understanding, this, you know how they work. And then the lease, of course, all the details we get into the lease. And we'd like to work immediately, starting a formal lease. He said that I do leases all the time. He said, I've never done one with the government. So he said maybe a little more in depth than what I'm used to doing, but however that may be, we want to immediately go to a formal lease though, like immediately, as soon as your attorney's ready.
Mr. Chairman, when I was asked the question, the only example that I had as a reference was the one that we had with CHS. And I think what I actually told Lisa was, Lisa, a show dog won't jump over it. It's so big.
I know.
So whether it can be done, better than that, or it can be done more concise than that, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure Mr. Rhodes has something. I can bring something, come up with a good agreement between both of us that protects you guys and protects us. There's nothing like a great lease. We want to cover all the bases in that. The MOU, I'm not so concerned about, so long as we get, we have a good understanding of path forward. We're fine with that. We're gonna have to trust each other. You guys put a lot of trust in us, the work we're gonna do and the time, we're gonna have to trust you guys to support us and wrap around this. So the MOU can be basic, you can try to do with that, and then we'll definitely get the details on the lease.
Questions from the board?
Sign this, don't forget something, you know, she should be right back with it.
Okay.
I mean, she just asked for, it, she's back right now. All right. It's that you're giving out your blueprint and it's public information, everything. I don't want no NDAs, that you always hand up folks. They copy ideas, so it's not, if we did secret or anything, it's just that y'all already know in this day and age what happens when you give out proprietary information.
I think we're okay.
You all right up here?
And then we're gonna take public comments and questions.
And just a few, whenever Sonia gets
Okay.
back with that.
Correct.
It'll be comments though.
So I can ask a question
You can make comments to the board.
and then you can ask them the question.
Right.
Yeah, I spent a day in Jacksonville before I came here last time. This is such a beautiful community. No, it's gone. Said that? I did. Oh, yeah. I left there twice. Okay. Because I had to breathe when I got here. I'm like, whew. Wow. So good down here. I am excited about it. It's gonna be a challenge, but we're up for it. I really do want to turn this around down here.
How does, I mean, Ralph, and how does the board feel? Any comments on the timeline that we presented on trying to get things done? I mean, y'all want to take more time? You foresee this being pushed back a year from now? Or do you see it being done in the near future?
It's not a year.
You can't go another year.
Yeah, I know we have more meetings scheduled over the next month.
Right, and I just asked because, you know, we have spent quite a bit of time on it and the times that's spent around people that we're holding and hoping that we'll have, we're not hoping, we'll have them here as doctors and everything else. And so we've done the projects because he's been working on that diligently to have all those individuals in place. And it's hard right now in the healthcare community, y'all. First of all, it's hard anyway to get anybody to work, but it's really difficult in the healthcare community to get people that are come, that are qualified, you know, it's hard, I'm telling you. And then, of course, coming in at certain, I'm not just going to share it all up. Thank you.
I was
Mr. Kennedy
speaking
just
for
asked
myself
for
only.
what we was talking about, right, so to speak, but basically we had that, and that's just an outline based on what and tell them what we want to do with you all the way around.
We do have the advantage of having a nursing school
Yes,
at the
ma'am.
college.
I know, we tried
And
to get
people
you
want to
here.
stay in the community.
Yes.
Come here.
I would not. I wouldn't
Come
be
to
able
work
to-
Come on, did you have some?
Yes, thank you. I don't know who authored the letter here with Oak Ridges LLC at the top. I assume it's Mr. Peacock or someone else that you can direct me to, but it states in it that Oak Ridges LLC is a consortium of professionals hand-selected to meet the objectives and mission of the Lakeshore Hospital Authority. When it says it's a consortium of professionals, the question I had coming into the meeting is, what is the intent for the hospital authority to contract? So with whom is the authority going to contract? Directly with Hope Bridges LLC, and Hope Bridges would be responsible for all the others that we've heard from this evening? Or a consortium of the private
I'll do
entities?
Hope Bridges.
Okay.
What would the authority receive as some type of insurance or guarantee should some provider need to leave the facilities? For example, in some emergency situation, Ace Medical needed to pull out of the relationship, say year 2 or year 3 down the road. How would Hope Bridges ensure to the authority and the citizens that that provider would be replaced?
You would just.
If the authority has no agreement with the provider, such as Ace Medical.
Well, it would be on Hope Bridges. He would have a time to quiet that, or however you want to call it.
To cure it.
Cure it, not quiet, cure that. I would put a timeline. It has to be done immediately. We would cure that.
And you can speak to this as well, with Ace Healthcare Administration, especially when you're talking about ERs and hospital, they have to give sufficient notice prior to closing, and even with the agreement that they have for being in the building with us rather. We would have ample enough time to bring another entity in to continue those services.
And if that makes you guys feel better, that I can have an agreement with me also.
Yes.
And I can be a guarantor on that agreement.
There you go.
So if that satisfies the question, I'm not backing out.
Yeah. Well, hey, Hope Bridges and the Hospital Authority be looking for another hospital. If they come in, if that's the case, he's signed both of us. That'll work that way.
When you refer to a MOU, an MOU can be a basic understanding on one thing or an infinite number of things. Would the MOU be something similar to an amount of time to conduct and perform due diligence and come back with more specifics? Or would it be something else?
Well, what we're looking for right now, we want to be operational. We have the Veteran Administration ready to go now, of course, to place individuals there. If we were able to enter into an agreement where it will allow that to generate resources as well as start working on the campus itself. I mean, the moment we're able to get in there and start working, I mean, we're gonna do MOU just to look at it. We want to start and get things done.
I have a hard time with the concept of an MOU because
I mean,
once I'm sitting down and I'm trying to work with someone to draft the details, I don't understand where the definite numbers, for example, $917,231.84. I don't know when those numbers would be coming.
We can address that in there.
Well, I understand we can address it in there, but would it be time to address it now?
yes.
Or
Sure.
before we agree to enter into a lease?
Yes,
How are you guys gonna do it?
we have.
We have this
We have how we came up with those numbers.
First of all, I ask these questions from the legal point of view, having to craft some agreement. The board members would decide, but I'm expressing a lack of understanding as to how we would craft an MOU with a lease agreement if we don't know what the capital investment to the dollar or roundabout number would be at this time. How would we even begin to craft an MOU that would include a lease?
Well, lease would come after we had the MOU signed, so we could get in there and do the due diligence that we need to get done. We've got numbers here, which should be on that paper he just handed you. And that's our best that we can come up with right now. Numbers that we have come up with, we spent time on it, Sharma did, and Randall did for those numbers. We would have those
We have.
as in more or less, you know.
Actual breakdown. We have an actual breakdown of every cost for, from supplies to billing to lab nurse and everything, how we came up with the numbers. And I understand what he's saying on top of that as well.
You just have to write it out.
And no, I agree with him. I mean, I agree. What we need to do is have something that's concise when it comes, which we do. Whether or not MOU is the best route,
Yeah,
whatever you
something
think,
different,
if it's
something
better with a lease, we just thought, I mean, the only reason that was mentioned is because of time, I guess, you know, how long would it take to get a lease agreement?
An
you know?
MOU could be an acceptable document,
Right.
but I don't understand the details that would go into the MOU. For example, when it comes down to $10 million. So what I generally see is an agreement, such as an MOU, we can call it whatever we want to today, but an agreement that says that the parties agree to these things, and within a certain amount of time, they will develop Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C, such as capital improvements to the first floor, to the second floor, capital improvements to the physical therapy building, and so on.
Right.
And so those details will be fleshed out, but within a certain amount of time, so that if those details cannot be fleshed out, then the parties divorce and the authority goes to some other proposal, some other option. So when I hear that we would start on a lease, I think we could start on the template and maybe the title lease That's as far as we really get into the nuts and bolts. So we would have to spend a certain amount of time for Hope Bridges contractors, engineers, whomever else, to start looking into the facilities and getting the attorney and attorneys the details to put into a document. But how much time would you need to perform due diligence? I'm not talking about days. I don't need 91 days or something like that. Just an overall idea. How much time would you need to perform the remainder of due diligence to start getting the nuts and bolts ready for a lease agreement?
No more, I would say no more than 2
on the
weeks.
equipment. How much are you gonna need?
To properly go in there, engage all professionals, because we're bringing in our engineers and things of that nature. And I think that's why you were bringing up the MOU, because there's priorities of work that you have to do to really, formulate a capital improvement plan. And normally the capital improvement plan will be done in the confines of you are already the operator of the said institution or facility. Yeah, so basically, you gotta have resources to actually start those necessary movements, you know what I mean, with testing some of the facility equipments and things of that nature. So, and this is just me thinking, I think that was the reason why the MOU was actually talked about, you know what I mean? So, and you can't just say, hey, we're gonna get a specific budget to be put in a specific agreement and not have all the resources and all the people to come down here or, allocate here in Lake City to get all these things done.
Now, I said all that to ask 2 questions for the board's knowledge. Again, how much, let's call that an improvement plan, again, renovation, whatever we want to call it, a plan.
You can call it a capital improvement plan, yes.
How much time, I heard 2 weeks for the medical side. Tell the board how much time you think you need to create an improvement.
We need about 3 weeks. To, improvement plan.
And now the final question, actually 2 questions. Based on that, and you would want the authority to give you the exclusive option to come up with that plan and then implement it so that they don't entertain other offers. In other words, you're not wasting your time and research, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That works.
Now, the final question, who do you want to pay for developing the improvement plan?
Who do I want to pay?
Yes, who's going to be responsible for that capital?
If it's a capital outlay of the authority, I'm assuming that the authority will want to pay to that improvement plan to be presented. Well,
That'd be probably.
It would be an improvement plan customized to what you want to do with it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And Hope Bridges would be expending that.
We would have to pay them for sure. I mean, I have to pay them. But I mean, when we say customizing, we're not looking at doing any major changes at the building. That's the key. I mean, we're trying to be as conservative as possible. We're not doing any major renovation. We're trying to do repairs and of course, sealing the building, everything else. So we're not like the other ones with tear out walls and all that.
So during this period of creating the improvement plan, say approximately 3 weeks.
Yes, sir.
Hope Bridges would be responsible for paying
We will
all
be
the
responsible.
contractors.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
We will, rather.
Right, and I must say this, because some of the improvement plans require actual plans, so.
That would be in $10 million budget.
Exactly, that we would have our architects and engineers, because permits have to be pulled. I don't think you guys have any authority over, approving building permits.
Well, no.
So.
Yeah, 3 weeks is very aggressive when you're talking about needing engineers and architects.
Well, we're not designing.
Yeah, we're not designing. And we've been here for several months working on it.
So, I don't know if this is where Fred was going, but in the past, we've had issues with the lease saying that our former tenant was responsible for maintenance of the building. It's your definition of maintenance. It could be completely different than my definition of maintenance. So the problem that we ran into is they were putting Band-Aids on things until it was done, and ultimately we were left with a building that has not been maintained. So I don't know if it would be beneficial for us to oversee and manage that and be at least intimately involved in the construction and the renovation of the building, being that ultimately we're still the owners of the building, and in the hopefully 10 or 20 or 40 years from now, we want to make sure the building is level.
I think what you're thinking there, what Randall's thinking is programming.
Yes.
Programming to define engineer and architectural scope. So he's talking programming, you guys are talking.
Spend a lot of money on reports that we have, and I know that those are
Yeah, I
a few years
know.
old.
I want to clarify, I'm not talking about maintenance or procurement and construction. I'm talking about what does Hope Bridges want today for the next short-term period?
Yeah.
In order to get those facilities occupied. And I wanted the board to know that. Also, I needed to know it because I'm hearing a lease agreement and I don't have anything to craft a lease with yet.
Right.
And Oak Ridge is appreciating its position, doesn't need to be over there spending a couple of weeks to watch the authority go with a different proposer. So I simply wanted an idea of what Oak Ridge's thoughts were going forward if the authority chose Oak Ridge's.
I want to make sure we're clear on what you're asking. Okay. So it'll take about 4 months total. So you're talking about what would it, for him to go in and give it an audit, of what needs to be done, break down, so you can get a little bit closer figure.
For audit plans and
Yeah.
things of that nature.
Yeah.
You know, what I mean,
Do you think you could do that in 3 weeks and have a good idea or not?
the 3 weeks would still be conceptual. You know what I mean?
That's fine.
It's programming.
Yeah, it's just programming.
So you can get them though at dollars, you can show them what you're doing. They
We
want
can
to know
show
what they're
them the
doing.
scope of what we're doing.
That's what they
within
need.
that
Is that
3
correct,
weeks.
Fred?
That's it.
You want to
Yes.
see exactly what he's doing.
Correct.
And we just want protection on our end, the keys to the door so we can go in and do let him go and spend that time and money and know it's not a waste. Because I don't think anything's crazy gonna show up. You spend a lot of time there. You feel relatively confident in the building.
I'm confident that we can
Right.
provide a
Okay,
schedule.
yes, but you don't gonna see anything scary. You spent some time.
Comfortable.
This is so much fun watching y'all try and pin the contractor
Of
down.
course.
Come on, we need a number right now.
Everybody's asking him to be both an engineer, a contractor.
And the
developer,
architect.
An architect and
Of course, it's all that.
and a crystal ball.
You're doing great,
Yeah.
man. You're doing
Nothing
great.
scary in there, is it? So I think we're on the same page. You say it much better than I do. So in the lease, I thought that would be something you guys be more pushing for. We just want to be protected. The monies we're spending is going to be a lot of time and money for you going there. Time and money for you to go in there and get a true list on the labs. That we're protected going and doing that. And then whenever you guys are comfortable, we want to move to lease course prior to opening. I mean, when I say immediately, as soon as we can, we'd like to move to that. As soon as we have the numbers, so we have something to fill in the blanks with. And that's protect everybody.
Okay, now I have a question. What if we paid for all the improvements and you paid us rent?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I mean, that sounds great, but we still definitely want some type of, what I was saying, investment into bringing the services in with the hospital, because the whole idea would be
I would
for us to be
postpone-
sustainable.
payment though.
well,
We need to postpone a payment.
I'm about to get to that part too. And then we look at all the other things that we're gonna be doing, that needs to be done for the community, just outside of what their recommendations are. We'll be in a position to where, we're basically having a joint venture. You still gonna have to offset some, be expected to offset some of the costs for all of those things, or fund those costs as well, but it's something to think about.
I wish you'd think about it because what Brandon brought up was very, very accurate. We previously have trusted the people that leased
Mhm.
and not gotten anything. In fact, gotten taken for a ride a couple of times. And if we pay for it, we can inspect it ourselves.
You still can.
Well,
You own the building.
I would agree with Ms. Smith that the authority may and has always had the ability to do an audit of maintenance.
Yes.
The tenant generally does not hold a contractor out of its own building. I said contractor, a landlord or out of their own building.
It's really,
Yeah, just sort of the 32,000-foot approach. Everything we've discussed and I've discussed with any of the vendors, not just Hope Bridges, but those that will present in the future. Time was of great concern. It was a big component of it because we've all sit here paying this overhead on the building, not providing services. Nobody's been happy about that. We've tried to move on past the COVID and all the other obstacles and let's start doing something with the facility, correct? So what I always envisioned is that once you get through the process of the presentations and the vetting and you've made a decision, and hypothetically, let's just say that you think the best fit for the community is Hope Bridges. Then we enter into an MOU, which can be done somewhat quickly, but the MOU doesn't provide the specifics that Fred was mentioning. It provides milestones by which to accomplish those things. And then, of course, you just check them off as they're done, and they would begin with more due diligence. Maybe the second milestone is providing hard and fast construction numbers. Maybe the third one is opening the clinic. Who knows? But while all that is going on and they're progressing through those milestones, you obviously are going to be working on the more formal lease component. And I think that gives the vendor the assurance that, hey, you're not doing something here that's going to be snatched out from under you, rather than we now have a systematic way to work toward a common conclusion. And that's kind of the way I see it working. And I don't know of a way to do it quicker than that. And time was a huge component of how do we do this.
Well, one thing, time is of the essence for the VA.
Sure.
We don't want to lose them. So we may be able to work this out in different phases, and Fred, we're going to lean on you and you guys help us. We would like to open the clinic as soon as possible. That's something that's doable. We want the VA as soon as possible. We do not want to lose them because many people want them.
Yeah.
Many people, and there's people there.
So not to interrupt, Julie, but let's just say that when it gets to the point and they make their decision, maybe the first milestone in that MOU is to let's go ahead and use the building for the VA, open the clinic.
Yes, absolutely. Let them get Brando on there doing his job so we're protected. He'll move as quick as he can. 3 weeks will be the longest it would take. If he can do it sooner, great. He has some time in there. So the MOU is not a long drawn out process. It's just a protection mechanism for us because it's the VA is a big part of this, guys. We don't want to lose that.
Well, I clearly understand what council is saying. I mean, he's looking for, hey, how do I do this? Because I don't have a hard and fast number. I get that. But the MOU should spell out when he will get that hard and fast number.
Yes, to separate out the clinic, separate out VA.
Sure.
Separate out the times on the monies for the capital improvement across the campus. That would be perfect.
Yeah, I just glanced at the handout and I'd like clarification on the 917,000 for the hospital. When we discussed it earlier, it was for a one-time payment and the handout says it's for 3 months.
Well, that would be if it took 6 months or 7 months. We don't foresee that, as if we had to have longer. In the,
Contingency.
But if there's a big difference between 12 million and 14 million. But to the 30, so could you speak to that?
Yeah, the first installment of 917, he will draw down on that. And we can break down exactly what that is. That is getting a director of nursing, that's having a medical person on staff, that's a lab technician. We're gonna have that to already get our licensure started. We have to have. That's gonna be upfront. Do you have that number breakdown on the side?
I can resend it. That's
Okay, that's what those numbers are for. And then depending how long we have to pay for that and what's happening with the lab stuff. That was his first guess. He needs that to get started. And that's why it's such a funny number because it's salaries in there and stuff. Of course, then the lab equipment. And that's if he's hoping, 3-4 months, we should be good at maybe 5 months. To get and that's to get the license.
But have the authority weigh and evaluate and budget. There's a big difference between 900,000 and 2.7 million. That's my.
How would you want to do that then?
But just say it's going to be 900,000.
Okay, well.
And then that solves it.
Well.
Gotta get you on Saturday Night Live.
Okay, and then what we need to get is let's put the 917 and then let's get a real number as soon as possible. Another thing, just like the contractor on the lab. And then let me make some calls to Occam and let me see what they can give me at some kind of timeline.
And actually I'd put with 1.5 million, assuming the lab.
Yeah,
So
let's maybe use that number. But let me make some calls because we didn't want to call ahead of time asking questions.
okay, that's my only question.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I would like to make a statement. Part of the reason that we could not check on maintenance in the hospital are privacy regulations. There are many places in the hospital that just because I walk in, I am not allowed to go to. And they did restrict our doing anything over there as far as looking at things.
I'm supposed to have a doctor on staff that works with us. With, on the hospital authority, was someone that told me there was a requirement.
Yes, there
Maybe a
is.
nurse. Okay, so maybe we have someone that's, that is on the, that y'all would approve of or something. I'm not sure that works.
It has nothing to do with us, and we have 2 doctors
Oh,
that have their applications in Tallahassee. It is the Appointments Commission.
Yes, we're supposed to have.
Yeah, governor's office.
When they have a full
There's a
board,
mechanism we can use.
when there's a full board, one of those has to be a doctor from the hospital.
Okay, good.
A practicing physician on staff.
Yeah, and that he should be able to. Well, how do you get around that?
No, we can find one. That's not an issue. If you want somebody on board and there's an empty.
But they have to go through the Appointments Commission.
Yeah,
You have to
That's
be a
the
resident.
problem. That's the problem you have to solve, right?
These
that's
these
what I was
members
thinking.
are appointed by the governor. They're gubernatorial appointees. So whoever that may be, if they meet the qualification, would still have to be vetted and then appointed by the governor.
My one question is to, y'all, before we leave out at night, my thing is, everything is supposed to be about the community and having services available for them. And, really and truly, there's opportunity for that to occur. And I just much like Ms. Julie was saying a few months ago, this granted is undertaken, but when you all don't you want to get some services and have something available? We like to utilize this resource that you got here for this community. And really, you all have opportunity, y'all got the empowerment to make it happen. Whatever way y'all want to work with, let's figure it out. Instead of dealing with all the bureaucracy and all that other stuff, just figure it out. Let's work together and do it. It's a joint venture, really.
So if I would ask questions now, like flipping the seats,
Right.
so what does the authority want to pay or does not want to pay? So
Right.
like, this is my second time here, and I'm not coming back the third time. So you got- And I'm being very clear, you know?
And to be fair, what we've paid in
So
the
you got,
past.
you gotta tell, I mean, do you want to pay anything? You don't want to pay anything? How much do you want to pay to get it started? Do you want to
So to
leave?
give you history of what we've paid in the past,
I mean, history is history, let's not, you know?
right,
What
but
do you, where do you want to go?
we've paid for indigent care for people that have qualified on our.
Yeah, but that got us here, the hospital shut down, so we got to do something different, you know? So do you want to, you know, this is the capital you want to put out, or you want to put out zero capital? Or, you know, what is your timeline? So, I mean, you are asking us for the timeline, yes, we are proving that, you know, I'm here second time, we all have come back again. So we are putting in time. Me and Mike, we have gone around the hospital 3 times, what can work, what cannot work. So that is, I'm trusting his word and going by it now. So I think we also need to know what is your timeline, what is your capital involvement. I mean, it has to work both ways. I mean, we are, it has to work both ways.
I
We're
think-
doing it for.
I think we have a
for
clear
the community.
understanding that we've given them that works for us. We just gotta make sure it works for you guys. I think we have a good summary, and you guys need to decide what works for you.
I would say as the director, Sharma, to the greatest extent possible, the investment in addition to the buildings and et cetera, that the authority makes, I would rather see it on the capital side as opposed to any operating expenses as far as a subsidy or whatever.
Perfect, then we can figure out, so once we know what is red and like black and
Yeah.
white,
And
then
that,
we can work out the rest. Whether, you
that,
know,
that's me, but I think that's a easier, safer way to spend public money in accordance with the guidelines that we are bound by. When you start putting front end money into operating expenses for private businesses, the people like Mr. Powell they get
but you're
nervous.
getting a commitment from us for the lease for a certain period of time. So what you're giving, you're getting back.
Yeah,
So-
I understood, but that would be the conversation when we get to the nuts and
It's
bolts.
the best discussion we have had during the entire evening.
I like that guy.
He's straightforward.
That's true. So, y'all want a hospital or not?
We do have 2 or 3 more meetings scheduled for presentations. I mean, I would love.
Oh, I know you got the meeting,
Yeah,
I'm saying,
so-
but do you want a hospital? You can say,
Yes,
yes,
I
I
want a
want one, but
hospital,
we're gonna give
yes.
it to Meridian to do something, and we're gonna give it to the school to do something, but if y'all want one, I just like, no, it was on your Christmas wish list, you got it here. You got everything, you got the VA and a hospital in there, you got the federal government, I don't think nobody's coming stronger than that. Period, outside of hospital and everything else. I don't trust the federal government, well, I don't trust them, but I know they got money, they got money, I know that. Over everyone else, other business will go out of business, I don't think the VA going out of business. No. Take everything on board,
Hospital.
yeah, hospitals not going out of business, people still get sick. You got this pops out there now.
Are there any other questions or comments from the board? We'll open it up for public comments at this point. I do want to state and make a reminder that public comments are comments to the board, not questions. It's not a question and answer session. We've been here long enough tonight. So we'll open it up. Public comments, Ms. Lively.
Yes, Mr. Kennedy brought up something that was very important to have a curriculum vitae on every entity. The group also needs to, find out who is Hope Bridges, who's the president, vice president, treasurer. The Randall and his company, how long has it been in operation? Do the board members really think we need a hospital, considering Lake City Medical Center has cared for the indigent, and I haven't seen anybody squawking or grabbing that their needs are not being met. And I think the group, she mentioned the authority, the enabling legislation, states that it's to provide for indigent care, meeting criteria, which Lori referenced. Powell, pretty much on the numbers. And she also mentioned, maybe they would need raising taxes. And the reason this trustee board back in the 80s got out of operating the hospital because they did not want to further burden the taxpayers. And the building is old. We have someone who called it a dinosaur. And I think that the authority does not need to spend any money. My thought is to give the building away and let it see what happens, because we seem to be doing just fine. We just need to eliminate the $75,000 a month that we're spending to maintain the buildings. $2,900 for lawn, security, roughly $30,000 for water and power. It's just crazy. We just need to get rid of the building.
Excellent. Any other comments from anybody in the room? Comments from anybody on Zoom this evening? Hearing none. Board member comments,
Couldn't
closing
hang with us.
comments? Everyone?
I have a comment. Please remember next Thursday night here, 5:15.
I'm just glad she reminded me.
Williams?
I'm good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you all very much. We certainly
Thank you,
appreciate it.
guys.
Look forward to talking to you soon.
Yeah.
I'm kidding, by the way.